Dave, you're going to interview me while we both stand.
Exactly. It's like a ring of
That'll
death or something. I'm waiting for the fire.
All right, so we can't step out of this little circle, I guess. Okay, got it.
Okay, so TD Bank is at work convincing the world that they are engaged in human banking. So can you unpack that apparent oxymoron for me and tell me what a human bank is?
Yeah. Well, let me start by why we became the human bank. And if you guys remember the spots that introduced it a couple of years ago, it was basically, it's time to bank human again. And the thought was really simple. The thought was, what are we genuinely? What is our truth, the real truth about our company? And does that truth have any resonance in the market? And when we genuinely looked at our truth, the truth was we were really people. That was our thing. If you walked into our stores, we had pens that weren't chained to the wall. We would walk you to your car with an umbrella if it was raining. We had coin counting machines. Your dogs are welcome. I don't know if you've seen the Bank of America signs outside. It says dogs are not welcome. They're welcome. And so when you have that sort of an experience, the truth was we were a human bank. And so we started to talk about it.
Very interesting. So we'll take a look at one of the pieces of video that will sort of illuminate that idea.
I'd give it to the libraries, maybe a coat drive.
Buying food for the homeless.
Doing something in like a group home to help kids, especially during the holidays.
We don't want to do it next month, next week. It is for today.
We're going to do it now.
Is this real?
It's for real. It's absolutely real.
Children that are in foster care, they're fighters, but they never get that boost of people making them feel better about themselves. But these kids, they can't be forgotten.
Living in a wheelchair for the past 18 years, I know how hard it can be to get into places. The home is somewhere that you have comfort, and you should be able to get into your home, and being able to do that is something I want to be able to give to people.
Okay, so from the video, from the campaign, from the idea, emotion is clearly central to this. Yeah. And you have researchers across the world, market researchers, people like Jonah Berger at Wharton, saying that for social and for sharing and all this, emotion is key. But as everybody in this room, I'm sure, has experienced, if they've done content or tried to do emotional content, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. So how difficult was it for you to sort of nail this?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, David. It's about honest emotion. Mm-hmm. And getting honest emotion, again, it goes back to who are you really? And we felt like we were truly that. And then the second was the way that we executed that as an example, is we went to our store leaders, the managers of our store, who are part of the community that they serve, and asked them, who do you know in the community that could do something really special? That's how we got our list of people that we then called and vetted down to identify the people to do the story with, or the stories with, since there were 24 of them. But it started from this place of a real connection between our store leaders and that person in the community. And that allowed that conversation to become genuine and honest, and therefore true emotional.
Right. So I know that you're saying that a lot of this sort of arose organically, but what was kind of left on the cutting room floor in terms of the concept? Were there ideas that you sort of discarded because they didn't seem as genuine or something like that?
Yeah. We wanted, the two lenses that we had was, one, is it something that we feel passionate about as employees? And then number two is the person that we are connecting with feel that passion as well? Because at the end of the day, this was a paid forward kind of moment, right? We are going to somebody who's saying, I want to do something for the community. And if that person did not truly have passion for that activity, right, then it wasn't going to work. Right. So there were sort of two levels of emotional connection that needed to happen, and that was what we chose, and certainly there were lots that didn't make that cut.
Right, and so since there was that emotional connection, there was a good amount of social traffic and social sharing and things like that. I guess my first question is, what did that traffic look like? What did that sharing look like? Like, what were the contexts around the people who were actually sharing these videos and these stories?
It was an emotional connection. It was an emotional connection with the viewer and the emotion that was being displayed. And that's what you could almost guarantee it, depending on the nature of the video cut that we made. If that emotion was shown on screen and it was real and honest, the viewer responded. And that was the nature of the social conversation was,
Right.
oh my God, did you see this clip? I can't believe, check out point, 23 seconds in. And that 23 seconds in is an emotional moment where one of our customers or one of our customers' people that they're helping was having that instance where that help was happening.
And that was on the consumer end, but there are sort of two sides to this equation nowadays. And one of the big buzzwords that I'm sure we'll hear a lot here, and we hear a lot in the industry press in general, is real time. So what was that component? What was sort of on TD Bank's side in terms of how they were responding to all this chatter?
Yeah, so I'll answer your question sort of at two levels. One, responding to specifically this example, but then let me take it sort of a step beyond that as well. So specific to this example, remember this actually happened in 24 days straight. So it wasn't like it was 24 days on paper, it was 24 days for real.
Right.
And so every day we had content and an experience that one of our stores, one of our markets was having that was touching them. And they wanted to talk about it. And in fact, we had a hard time to sort of say, okay, wait for the 24 days because we do have this sort of bang at the end of 24 days, but we were still releasing things every day because our store leaders wanted to talk about it.
Right.
And so we have an internal site that is sort of an internal social media property, and it became sort of a hotbed of the store leaders talking about what they had just done and how proud they were to work at TD. Now let me take sort of the bigger context of your question, which is how do you sort of think about these sort of things in a real-time manner, if I remember your question right.
Yeah.
And I would say that the thing that, when I started doing social media years ago, I remember the first post, and if you guys search it, you'll find it, and it's very, very embarrassing. Because the first post we ever did, this was at a previous company, I remember I was so scared to respond to someone that had posted something about our company, my company at the time, because I didn't know what would happen. What would happen if we posted this? This was years ago. And we're a bank, so we needed all these legal and regulatory, and all these other groups needed to be involved in order to make this one response. And by the time we responded, which we thought we had worked hard to get that response out that day at the end of the day, we're like, man, we are awesome. We got this out at the end of the day. But if you know how the stream works, by the time we responded, several other people had commented, so response, which is under my name, made absolutely no sense whatsoever. And so from time to time, I'll go back and remind myself what dummies we are and go read that response because it made no sense and we had spent all day in crisis mode on that one response.
Right.
Where we are today is we have social media leaders in our company, and when I say leaders, I mean practitioners, who are doing the work of understanding the conversation and engaging the conversation in their real time. And that's the only way it's going to work. And so we have absolutely gone to that model. And so we have no hesitation. I have no hesitation as the CMO with my folks leading that dialogue with the customer because that is when it is truly most genuine.
Right, so you're giving a lot more agency to the actual people doing this. So what happens when that backfires? What happens when a tweet goes bad or something like that?
So we have not had that so far. I'm sure we will at some point. And I would say the answer is that's part of being human. I mean, that's part of being part of this conversation is accepting that you're not really in control over your brand as much as you think you are. So much of this is putting your brand in a position where it is willing to live and die by the merits of its case.
Right.
And as long as you have confidence in the merits of your case, you should be willing to talk about it. And I'll take a couple of examples sort of make that point at TD, and I think it probably alludes to a lot of your clients as well. One of the things that TD is passionate about is diversity issues, and so we are passionate supporters of LGBT and all that goes with it, as an example. We have not been shy about talking about that aggressively. And we know that there are people in our markets who may feel like that is not what we should be talking about.
Right.
But again, it is true for us. It is true for our employees. And if we don't, we break that thread of honesty with our own employees. After all, we have 26,000 employees in the US, and if we don't say what we actually believe in a way that is genuine, they'll call us on it. And then you lose that thread of reality and of honesty in the way that things come across.
So back to when you were talking about doing this in real time, you were saying this was happening in 24 days, spread out 24 actual days. Was this leading up to some particular thing at the end, or was this just following this story and that was the extent of it.
Well, the setup was we have 24 days in which we're going to give away the money. So,
Right.
so that was the setup, and that was the way that we played it out. And so I think there was no magic in that other than 24 is a nice number.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Don't you guys think 24? I mean, if you're going to pick a number, that's the.
So we're going to look now at another short clip of another facet
Okay.
of
Yeah.
this larger campaign.
Hello there. Hi.
Hi.
I'm here to thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Christine. Bonjour, Karine.
Bonjour.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
I'm ATM. You know what ATM stands for?
Automated teller machine?
That is correct, normally, but today you're wrong. I'm an automated thanking machine.
Hey, look at that, buddy.
That's for you. That's on TD Canada Trust.
Thank you.
Ooh, selfie. Get my good side. There's a slot that's opening.
Oh my goodness. Never in all my life had such a beautiful surprise.
Okay, so the
Good
theme
stuff,
here,
right?
right? So this is a whole thank you campaign, and
Yeah.
the theme here is giving back, either
Yeah.
giving back directly, as in the previous clip, or empowering others to give back. Or sorry, the other way around.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, how much of this has to do with sort of the consumer stigma around banking after the 2008 financial crisis?
Yeah, I think we benefit from that, but it has nothing to do with that in terms of how we came to it. So TD has always been this bank that has been a disruptor brand, has been a disruptor bank, both in the US and in Canada. And the way that we've sort of, for years, and this is, I'm going back, early in 2000 and beyond, we have taken this approach that what are the things that are surprisingly available and better than expected in banking, and let's make that.
Right.
So we're always looking at this lens, and we call it biscuits internally. So what is the biscuit? What is surprisingly available and better than expected? And it can be as small as actual biscuits in our stores for your dog to as big as being open longer than any other bank in the markets that we serve, right? So it's always finding those biscuits. And as we sort of went down this path of biscuits, we said one of the biscuits that we really have is our wow culture. And I mean it when we say wow culture. We have something called TD University. I've been to TD University. In fact, my staff runs TD University. It's an amazing thing. In TD University, we teach our employees the wow culture. And it sounds weird until you do it and you're like, wow. I kind of get it. Because the reality is that banks can make a big difference in communities, a huge difference in communities. I come from more old school marketing, and you didn't really get this. When I came here, one of the things I noticed, this was 3 years ago, we had a mascot. He's called TD. And I don't know if you go, those of the East Coast, you see our mascot every time we open a store. We just opened a store in 56 in Madison in New York. I was there last week. Our mascot was everywhere, right? A mascot goes around New York. It's an actual mascot. And you think, really? A mascot? And I was kind of embarrassed by it, and I thought, I'm going to get rid of that because I don't want a mascot associated with what I do. And it turns out our employees love the mascot because the mascot speaks to their wow culture. It speaks to the passion that they bring to their jobs about being in it in their community.
Yeah.
And so we absolutely have the mascot. We use them all the time. And I think that's where we really come at it is these things that we're doing are genuine expressions of that passion.
Right.
And so let me answer your question because I don't want to ignore it. I think the 2008 crisis was terrible. And in general, if you ask an academic question, trust in banks was at an all-time low in 2008. It really hasn't recovered, although it's slightly up in the last 6 months or so. But that's about the banking industry. If you ask people about their banks, they're okay with their bank. They just may not like the industry. So this is more about reflecting who we are as a brand, who we are as a company, and then having that mean something to our employees and therefore to our customers.
I mean, I'm honestly interested right now in you expanding on that wild culture idea.
Wow
So what-
culture.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Sorry.
That
Wow.
makes a lot more sense.
Wow culture. Wow culture.
For a bank. Banks can be wild too, I
Yeah, no, I'm happy to
suppose. I
expound
don't
on the
know.
wow culture. Yeah.
Okay, so all of this is about making your bank more human, right? But we have transactional relationships with our banks, and I think that probably if you ask me, and maybe if you ask others,
Yeah.
that's not really a problem, right? They're exchanging money, they're getting money out of their accounts, they're all these financial actions.
Right.
I suppose, and this is a larger question about content in general, with everybody out there trying to form these relationships and everything.
Right.
In the case of banking, do we need those relationships? Are those important?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what customers say. Overwhelmingly yes. And if you look deeply in your own hearts, you will say overwhelmingly yes too. I've been in focus groups actually all of last week in both New York, San Diego, Salt Lake City, and I've been asking customers this very question. And the answer is, when push comes to shove, I want to look somebody in the eye. This is my money we're talking about, right? I don't want to mess around with something that doesn't allow me to look someone in the eye and say what happened. And that is why relationships matter. Now, I will say there's this whole conversation around digitization, which we can have an entire presentation on, but I'll give you the 5-second version of how I've been thinking about it. I think consumers want digital efficiency, undoubtedly. And when you go to a place that doesn't have digital efficiency, it drives you crazy. It drives me crazy. You want digital efficiency. But at the same time, you want real connection. You want the ability to have a connection with that enterprise, be it a connection with the brand or with an actual human being. And we play in that intersection point. When we say human banking, what we mean is digitally efficient banking that has a real connection. So even in the world of digital, we try and bring out real human connection. I'll give you a simple example. In Boston today, for the last 6 months or so, we've been piloting 60 seconds to a human. In 60 seconds, you can get a hold of a human being, a live human being on the phone, 24/7. And the thinking is, consumers want efficiency, but when push comes to shove, I want to talk to somebody.
Right.
And so we want to give that option. And so we've been trying different ways of continuing to elevate that white space, which is that intersection between those two spaces.
All right. I think we have time for a few questions, if there are any. There are microphones. I see one over there.
Hi. It's great to hear you talking about people-based marketing in terms of the content that you're putting out. But we're also hearing a lot in the industry of people-based marketing in terms of targeting capabilities with CRM hash files and constant identifiers of a person. And I was wondering if you were using any of the CRM data to inform the targeting of this messaging that you're putting out.
Yeah, we are. So what we've talked about here so far is on the emotional and the brand side. So obviously, if we then talk about deepening, where CRM plays the biggest part in our company anyway, the CRM strategies and data become paramount. And so there's clearly ways, and you're probably alluding to the question because there's probably 10 people in here who know it well because it's evolved so quickly. And probably evolve faster than what we do. But we have core ad optimization capabilities on our site, off our site. We marry it with a customer data mart that includes customer information, and we use third-party sources that tie to that. And then we use it for sort of individualized and to a certain degree segmented dialogue. But I think that's a world, to your point, that's moving so fast that I bet we can do more.
I think we have time for one more, if there is one. Right here in the front.
Yeah.
From a metric standpoint, would you say that the campaign was more successful externally from a consumer-facing standpoint or internally with the passion that it brought out in your employees?
Yeah. So the metric that's most obvious in these two is views, and it was insane. So from a view perspective, no issues. So if I look at it purely on a CPM basis of what did it cost me to do it and what did I get, it's fantastic. It beat any television we've done any day. Now, the question that matters obviously to us at the end of the day is, did it drive consumer performance? And the answer is we don't know. It's hard to tell. I would say in general, though, it is continuing to reinforce our brand internally and externally. And we know that when you have two stores on two sides of a block, a TD store and maybe a City store on the other side, and they're both close to you because proximity is very important to you when you're choosing your bank, even though you may never walk in there after that. We want you to choose the one that is more memorable to you and has more of an emotional relationship. And to that end, I think it has done a fantastic job. And if you look at our overall metrics, we get customers at a faster clip per store that we put out than any other bank in the US. So by far, we have better performance. Can I attribute it to that specific campaign? Not really, but I think probably yes. Yeah.
All right, and that's all the time we have, so thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.